welcome back to the Ag Bull Podcast. I am your host, Tommy Grisafi. Today's episode was filmed in Valparaiso, Indiana, in the Ag Bull studios. You'll be able to watch this on our Ag Bull YouTube channel. You'll also be able to listen to it on Apple and Spotify and anywhere else you enjoy podcasts. Today's guest is Mr. Marcus Hughes from Thompson, North Dakota. Marcus is a baseball player at Mayville State. He is also Ag Bull's summer intern 2X last year and this year. He grew up in rural North Dakota, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things. Marcus, welcome to the show.
Hi, Tommy. Thanks for having me.
Where are you today?
I'm in Valparaiso, Indiana. We finally got to make the trip to come here, and I'm excited. It's been a good 2 weeks that I've been here, so.
So I'm downstairs in the studio. This studio down here does a lot of things. I work here, I record here, I do TV from here. But you're used to seeing the other side of this in Mayville, North Dakota, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm used to the studio that you got in the bank of First State Bank in Mayville, and it's a state-of-the-art studio down there. You also got that state-of-the-art one in your basement right here that I've been able to see over the past few weeks. Just beautiful.
Same thing we're doing, whether we're doing TV here, we do RFD TV or U.S. Farm Reporter, any of the TV shows, podcast. It's kind of funny because you see all the stuff up there and we have the exact same stuff here. Kind of makes it easier when we go back and forth. Well, that's enough about the Ag Bull podcast. Let's talk about you. Marcus, tell us about growing up in Thompson, North Dakota. I understand you have quite a bit of championship winning. You're used to winning up there when it comes to sports.
Yeah, I'll get to Thompson in a sec, but actually I'm originally from Nitchie, North Dakota, which
A lot
is
of people have been there,
a lot
sure.
of people, a lot of people. It's just this small town up in northeastern North Dakota. It's about a mile away from the Canadian border. So growing up, I made a lot of frequent trips up to Canada. There's this awesome little town called Altona in Manitoba. There's this awesome little pizza joint called Niagara Pizza that we always used to go to. And every pizza trip ended with some ice cream too at the hut. It was awesome. I had a grandpa that lived there with us, so he often made the trip with us. But yeah, up in Nitchie, my grandpa owned a farm up there, and my uncle still works on it. My dad, who is a banker, he would help out on the farm whenever, honestly, just during the busy times of the year. But in the spring of 2010, that's when we moved to Thompson. So I never really got the true farm kid growing up experience. But yeah, Thompson is a little bit of the best of both worlds. It's got that small town feel, but we're super close to Grand Forks. We're about a 10-minute drive. And I love the small towns, so that was a little bit of the best of both worlds.
What's your logo at your high school?
We are the Thompson
Uh,
Tommies,
oh, the Tommies. I like that. I
and we
could
have
dig that.
the good TT, which looks like Texas Tech, but we got that shade of forest green in there. It's a beautiful logo.
Yeah. What sports did you play? I assume you got a good education there. Let's just skip the sports. But what sports? You're part of many championship teams there in Thompson.
Yeah, so in the fall I participated in football, and when I was there we were a little bit smaller. We were Class B in all of our sports, but for football specifically, we did North Dakota nine man. And I was fortunate enough to be on four very good teams of that. But two of them we were able to win the nine-man state championship, so that was very exciting. For basketball during the winter, that's what I played. Luckily, our senior year, we were able to make it to Thompson's first ever high school state basketball tournament, which is called the B, and that's very popular up there. And we were fortunate enough to win it our senior year, the first year that we ever made it. And then in baseball, we won the state B championship my freshman year, which would have been 2016, the spring in 2016. The following 3 years in high school, we ended up losing to Park River in the state championship. But each year that we lost in high school, we also have summer baseball, which is called American Legion Baseball. We were post 181, and we ended up winning that 3 years in a row as well. So yeah, it's a awesome little stretch there that
And
me
you
and my buddies
actually
had.
received a degree from that school too, I assume.
I think so. I think so. I don't know where the diploma's at, but
Yeah. Now, where are you now? I see a lot of blue behind you.
oh yeah, now I'm at the awesome Mayville State University in Mayville, North Dakota, about halfway between Fargo and Grand Forks. 45-minute trip either way. It's this awesome little small town regional school, and I fell
What
in
do you
love
call
with
it?
it.
NIN.
NAIA is what the athletic conference that we're in,
Okay,
or
it's very
division.
popular. Same as Bella's College over there, St.
Yep,
Ambrose
St.
in Iowa,
Ambrose.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of going into Mayville State, I knew I wanted to play baseball coming out of high school. And Mayville, I thought I knew a lot about what Mayville State was just from playing the high school team and being in Mayville. There were a few times over the summers where we would do basketball team camps and they'd be overnight. So we'd go and stay in the dorms and we'd eat in their cafeteria. So honestly, before I ever had a true tour of it, I thought I knew a lot of what it was. But then I went there from like one of my official visits and I was honestly blown away. I had barely just even grazed the top of what it was. The coaches were awesome. They showed me the big blue monster, which if anyone out there doesn't know what that is, look up Mayville State baseball. They right there in right center field. There's a big blue monster that shows all the conference championships that Mayville State baseball has won, and
Oh, that's amazing.
44 of them to be exact up to this point. And I'm lucky enough to be a part of one of those teams.
Yeah,
But
that's
I mean,
awesome.
that's all the selling I needed is I like winning. I'm a winner. And if you say no to that, I mean, I don't, you must not really care about winning because that's what we like to do there.
I had an opportunity to meet you at Mayville. Maybe you could tell everyone that story.
Yeah, so this is a good story. So this would have been last spring. So spring of 22, I took this class called Ag Price and Commodities with Ted Stoa. And going into it, I just never really had a great understanding of what agriculture and farming was like. So I was, and what I want to be when I'm older is an ag lender. So I thought, well, this is what I got to do. If I got to start learning at some point. So I went into that class, not really knowing what to expect. And one of the first class periods that we had that year, you came in and you were a guest speaker and you related everything to us in terms that we understood. And we loved listening to you. There was only about six of us in there. So that was just a little funny. Just I remember talking with your daughters, and they're like six people in a class in college. That's outrageous.
A lot of a good ratio of teachers to students that you know everyone's getting the right attention.
Yep.
Your
But
teacher will definitely notice if you weren't there that day.
but you ended up coming and teaching that class 8 to 10 times throughout the semester. And I remember one of the last time that you went and taught, you said, "Hey Ted, I need a intern for the summer for my media company, Agbo Media." And I thought about it a little bit. I called my dad. I was like, "Hey, should I do this?" Like, this was the first summer I wasn't playing summer collegiate baseball, so I needed a job. I needed an internship in order to be able to graduate. He was like, "Yeah, it's a good idea. I've seen that dude around. I've seen him on TV. Let's do it." So then I told Ted that I wanted to do it, and he goes, "Yeah, hey Tommy, Marcus will be your intern." And you go, "Who is that?"
Which one is
which
he?
is which is a great story because there's six of us in there and you already knew four of them. So you had a
Uh,
50-50 shot. That's just a good
Yes,
story.
you were
But
that other kid who sat next to you. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the story about how we met and how I got roped into this. But yeah, last year was the first summer that I interned with Tommy and Egg Bowl. And right away, one of the first things that we did was we did our Red River farm crop tour with
Boots on the
Don Wick.
ground with Mr. Don Wick. Yeah. That was a
Yeah, and that
good
was a
week.
lot of fun. We went day one, we went up to northeast North Dakota and northwest Minnesota. Second day, we went down south of Fargo and west out towards Bismarck, and then we kind of went north through Carrington and New Rockford up through Devil's Lake, and that was kind of a really fun 3 days where I learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah, remember we went by that coal mine? I'm like, that they're taking coal out of the ground up
Yeah,
there.
they had those huge trucks. I hadn't even seen that before, and I
No.
lived here my whole life.
You know what was nice about going out there, Marcus, is that whole western area had received really beneficial snows and rains, and it was just green, the most beautiful green ever out west in that pasture ground. And the good folks out there in agriculture really need that. Now, why don't you tell listeners, we have listeners all over America and people who might not even be from America on the Ag Bowl podcast, how would you describe the agricultural setting? And I know you're not a farmer, but a lot of your friends are, and you've taken ag classes and you pay attention. What is it like let's talk about the crops they grow in the Red River Valley. You do live in the Red River Valley, and that dirt in the Red River Valley is a lot different than that ground out west by Bismarck or even north by Minot. How would you describe the Red River Valley to someone who's never been there?
Quite honestly, it's a beautiful area to live, especially if you're a farmer. A lot of heavy soil, and the areas where it's not heavy. I mean, a lot of people use drain tile. So for as much as we are likely to flood, I guess in my experiences with you, people go to any length not to have to use prevented planting. But a few of the main crops that we grow up there would be spring wheat, soybeans, corn, and then actually a lot of sugar beets. And those go to the American Crystal Sugar Plant, which is that they are contracted to do that. But I'd say those are our four biggest crops that we grow.
I'm gonna
There's
throw
some
one more in for you. There's a company right across from your house in Mayville called SRS. Remember what they do?
Honestly, I don't.
Edible beans, like
Edibles,
the
yep,
blacks, the
edibles.
pinos. You remember that? We talked about that in the class, and that's something people forget about. We go to the store and buy a can of beans. Some people call them turtles. You got your navies, your pinks, but all those beans are grown really well in North Dakota soils, and that's definitely a specialty crop. It's my understanding there won't be a lot of edibles this year, or sunflowers, and a lot of those things prices have really calmed down. So what's going on in college?
My very first year is the year that coronavirus happened. So this past year would have been my fourth year, and I remember going into the fall, I had this big, I I I had a tough time deciding whether I was going wanted to do an extra year or not. And the one side of it was, oh, I'm ready to start. I'm ready to start making money and start my life. And then the farther into the year we got where it was really time to make a decision, and all the people I had been talking with, everyone was like, man, you're going to be an adult forever. Have fun while you can, be a kid while you can, and that's really what ended up sticking with me. And I knew that if I didn't do it, that as soon as everyone got to campus this fall, I'd be kicking myself for not playing baseball for an extra year because like everyone knows there's a timetable of how long you can do something, and if I can extend that by 1 year, I'm going to do it.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing well there too at Mayville, both with your education and your baseball. Speaking of Mayville, I've seen them in the news a lot. What's going on over there? You had a coaching change, definitely. What happened with your baseball coach?
Yeah, so our old head coach, his name's Scott Barry. He is a very legendary coach within the NAI community, even bigger than NAI. He's known through ABCA, which is the American Baseball Coaches Association. He currently, while he was before he retired, he was the third active most winningest coach in the NAIA. He was the head guy at Mayville State for 42 years, which is unbelievable. Mayville State's only had two coaches in the previous 75 years. So he was a big part of that. He brought so many championships to Mayville State, and he's definitely done made our program a everyone knows us nationally because of him. It's one of my great honors to honestly to just have played for him. He's someone that I'm going to tell my kids about, my grandchildren about, that I got to play for that guy. But also, it's really cool because I know some people that have played for him, and they tell me all these great stories about him, and now I'm glad that I have some that that I can tell them back and make them laugh. But yeah, our new head coach is Billy Tomlin. He's been the head assistant for about 10 years or so. He's been there every year I have, and he absolutely deserves it. I'm excited to return in the fall and get him his first win and what is hopefully a start to a very long and successful career for him.
That's awesome. Your family, your mom and dad have a deep history in Mayville State. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, both of my parents went to Mayville State. That's actually where they met. And more so with my mom, I got to shout her out real quick. Beth Hughes, or some people might know her as Beth Kopang. But up until this year, she was the all-time leading scorer in Mayville State women's basketball history. So that was pretty cool. She held that record for over 25 years, I believe. But it's awesome though. My sister is there now as well, and one of her teammates broke that record. So it's awesome because the lady who broke it, Jordan's Rust, she has a great relationship with our family and Kenzie and my parents. So honestly, there was no one better that we would that Beth would have liked to have broken her record.
That's really neat. Now, your father went to Mayville?
He did. My father went to Mayville. He didn't do any sports or anything, but
He probably was participating in some extracurricular activities. Matter of fact, he had a nickname, didn't he?
oh, he did. This is a great story. I don't remember how he got the nickname, but his nickname was Chucky. And he had told me that over his college career, at the end of once he graduated, there were some people that didn't know his real name, which is Jeremy. They only knew him by Chucky, which how that happens, I don't know, but he must have made an imprint on some people if they're remembering Chucky.
That is awesome. Yeah, because I told a friend and a client that Marcus Hughes was at spending a few weeks in Valparaiso, Indiana. He goes, "Oh, Chucky's son." I'm like, "I don't think that's his dad's name." He goes, "Oh, yeah, it is." I said, "That's awesome." Oh, God. Well, hey, real quick while we take a break during this podcast, you know as well as everyone else, what do we like to do? We like to give away American flags, don't we, Marcus?
We do.
How do people get a hold of us and get a flag? We're going to give away 5 flags for this episode. This is the Marcus Hughes episode coming out here at the end of June. And if you email us at
At flags@eggbull.com.
FLAGS at symbol AG bull.com, we will send you a beautiful American flag. And we've had so many generous people donate flags, and it's just a nice gift. We love where there are farmers. You know what the coolest thing about flags for farmers is that you really you make a friend every time you send a flag, whether it's a farmer who wanted a flag or I've sent them to big cities where someone says, "Hey, I'm in Houston. I came across your podcast. I'm in California." And who knows who's going to come across the Marcus Hughes podcast, but they're going to have a good listen for sure. Well, anyway, that's our little break. Let's talk a little bit more. And then you and I, we have a pool party to go to. We're going to go wrap up your trip here to Chicago. Let's talk a little bit about Marcus. I got to know you, your family a little bit, watch you play baseball, watch you work. I understand your great work ethic and your passion. Um, Talk about the difference between, spending a week or two in Mayville working at the bank at First State Bank, one of our premier sponsors, and then coming out to Valparaiso or Chicagoland. Talk about the differences, both positive and negative, of both the towns.
Well, I just love Mayville. Just like I was saying earlier, I'm a small town kid, so I love the small town feel where everyone knows each other. When you're driving by each other, you wave at them. That's just something I love. But honestly, from the 2 weeks that I've been in Valparaiso, Valparaiso really does feel, I know it's big. I think you said, what was it, 40,000
It's probably
population,
approaching 40,000 with all the people moving here from Illinois. Yeah.
which is huge. But honestly, just the feel of the town actually feels very small and very interconnected. Like I have never felt overwhelmed here, which is awesome because I might not do well in the big cities. But going to Chicago, for the few trips we've made to Chicago, I am not used to that traffic. I'm not used to that seeing that many people on the sidewalks, just everything being backed up. It has been a lot of fun though. I mean, that's also something that I look forward to on trips is just seeing how different areas of the country uh, just go about their day and stuff like that. So it's been really fun.
I picked you up at O'Hare Airport. That's a big place. We went out, had a snack, came in the house, got adjusted. One of the fun things we did a few fun things. We went to New Buffalo, which is Michigan, right around the corner. That's pretty wild to be just driving, jump off the highway, and all of a sudden you're looking at these beautiful homes on the lake, which I would think you would think looks like an ocean, because you say lake and you think lakes of Minnesota like DL. Lake Michigan's Lake Michigan from any view truly looks like an ocean. It is a great big body of fresh water, and there were some big boats coming in and out, and great food. And we got you a shirt from the Stray Dog,
The
right? You'll
stray
be
dog, yep.
walking around in Fargo with the Stray Dog shirt, and one day someone's going to be like, "Hey, I know where that is." And we went to a Sox game. That's American League Baseball, which was a great game. We watched the Sox play,
They played the Miami Marlins, which
which
are my
happened,
favorite team. So,
right?
but honestly, I would have liked to see the Sox end up winning that game because when they got on that little rally, it was super cool because it was a bad, honestly, it wasn't a very good day for baseball when we went. It was Sunday afternoon and it was 60 degrees out and it was enough rain to be annoying. And that went through the first two innings of the game. But we got there and I mean, this might not sound like a lot to people who regularly go to the games, but for me, there's 17,000 people there and everyone's getting loud and rowdy. So that was a super fun atmosphere to be in.
That's Southside Pride. Yeah, I was explaining to you, big difference between a Sox game and a Cubs game, and we made it up to Wrigley Field, didn't we?
We did make it up to Wrigley Field and we did. You and our friend Lucas showed me a little tour of
Lucas,
everything
old
around there,
Lucas.
Addison Street and down and seeing all the cool bars and restaurants. And
Yeah,
Wrigley was phenomenal. Wrigley was
yeah.
phenomenal.
And the Cubs played the Pirates,
The Pirates, yep.
and they won. And we met some people from California who play the bagpipes, and we also sat behind some young ladies from Libertyville, North Dakota, who their family happens to own farm ground in Iowa. And that was an
Hmm.
interesting discussion to listen to those ladies talk about what they think's right with farm ground versus a farm ground that's been in their family for over 100 years. That was what a small world it is. Yeah, we had a good day. It was also cold at Wrigley Field. It's funny because as we're filming this, you watched a lot of markets last few weeks, and the markets have exploded because of drought. But we actually had to buy sweatshirts at that game last Thursday because it was so cold. And I guess we're in what they call a cold drought. No, it was cold in Chicago because the lake's right there. We had a doggone good time in Wrigley Field, and yeah, you got to drive up and down. You know, it's cool. When we left, we were driving down Lakeshore Drive. We put on Sweet Home Chicago from the Blues Brothers. So we leave Wrigley Field. We shoot down Lakeshore Drive at 11:30 at night. We go by where the Bears play, Soldier Field, and we come around the corner and we're at White Sox Park. And I said, "Hey, Marcus, isn't this wild? You could be at the Cubs, then the Bears, then the White Sox, and we truly do live in a great city. You didn't get a chance to taste Blackhawks hockey or Bulls basketball or go to like a Northwestern football game, or we didn't make it out to Notre Dame either. That was on our hit list. We didn't quite make it there, but lots of things to do here. I guess I take it for granted. There's one thing when we were driving last Saturday that popped out of you as far as agriculture and the way it looks here versus home. What was that?
I was hoping you were going to bring this up. Yeah, we're driving back. I believe it was from LaPorte
Yeah, the
and
Slicers.
the
The
Slicers.
Slicers is their mascot. Yeah,
We're watching your godson play,
yeah.
and on the highway, there's been something that have been come across my mind a few times since I've been here, and I go, "You have so many trees here." And what did you say again? What did you? Because I'm used to the big
We have more
sections of field.
hardwoods. Well, you farm in sections. We farm in 20s, 40s, 80s, in between houses and everything. But if you went further south down I-65 towards Lafayette, it would look more like what you're used to. But oh, I do remember you spent a lot of time along the lake shore by the Indiana Dunes, which is I believe it's a national park, the Indiana Dunes National Park. So because it's so sandy, because we have those dune hills and then we're marshy from the glaciers from tens of thousands of years ago, you literally at one of the largest fresh bodies of water in on the earth, literally. And then that ground right on the other side of it isn't just beautiful farm ground. It's sandy soil and marsh. And so there is a lot of trees along the lake shore. But if you went south, if I took you an hour south, you would say, yeah, this is corn and bean
This looks
country.
like
This
home.
is Lafayette. Yeah, this looks like home. If we went by Purdue Lafayette, uh, and you were there, you'd be like, wow, this looks like pulling into NDSU. You wouldn't know the difference. Yeah. A little different growing season stuff.
Hmm.
What else did we talk about the markets? What'd you learn? I understand that you were watching the markets with my brother Joe. You guys were upstairs in the back porch, and I was we had a few things we wanted to get done the weeks you were here, and we didn't get them all done, which is okay. I mean, I'll take a hot, crazy weather market over doing some of the chores we didn't get done. We are getting the podcast done, and that was one of the big goals. But what did you learn on the market side? And then you could talk a little bit about what you learned on the media side.
Yeah, well, with the markets, I might not explain it very well, but it
Do your
seemed like
best.
every day that I was here, something was on the high. It seemed like every, like corn, wheat, and soybeans, it seemed every day was on the highs. I remember because I'm sitting up here with Joe, and there's calls coming in every 3 minutes, and
That's with advanced
with
trading.
advanced trading.
Yeah, Joe works there. I work there. Gina works there.
Yep. So then I even this just happened yesterday, but we're sitting up
Sure.
here because yesterday was so crazy. And Joe texts in your chat. He goes, "Hey Dave, you need to call this guy." And then Dave ends up saying, "Hey guys, I need you guys to help me. I'm 8 people behind, and it's 11 in the morning." I mean, like you were saying, um, I saw probably 2 or 3 of the busiest brokering days that you may have ever had.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason that is that funds were short. You know, there's a lot of people listening to this podcast who are farmers involved in markets, and you did a wonderful job of explaining that. And soybeans were up like a dollar something for the week. Corn was up 70 cents. Wheat was up big. Cattle are moving around. What happened, Marcus, is the markets were at a much lower spot a month ago, and it wasn't looking good for agriculture and prices. The farmer did a great job of getting the crop planted, but the prices went to horrible low levels, and it looked like it might be doom and gloom for years. Then Mother Nature said, "Watch out! I'm large and in charge. Hold my beer." And she come ripping along with some heat and some lack of moisture, and the weather folks were predicting big moisture that didn't happen. And then remember how we'd rush home both Mondays to trade that crop ratings report, where crop ratings come out at 3 o'clock, and I'd say we got to look at the state by state. And I was like, "Whoo wee, look at Illinois, it went down this many points, and look at Iowa." Then we called our Iowa clients and texted them. So you could see it too. Hey, we forgot to mention something. Remember when you and I and Joe went on that road trip to Michigan? We went and saw Michael Reginelli and
Yep,
another
Ypsilanti, yep,
coworker, Mark. Yeah, boy, Central Michigan was looking rough. We went right by where Michigan is. What's that?
Ann Arbor, yep.
Thank you, Ann Arbor, Michigan. That was some rough country. If there's a lot of America looking like that, that's rain makes grain, and they just didn't have enough. So whether it's when you talk about markets, people tend to say that they get backyarditis. And we also here in Valpo had a beautiful 1 inch rain. And so as you and I look around, lawns look better, crops look better, and obviously you got to experience another thing too. We did go out in the country a little bit, and I had the opportunity to speak at the Porter County Farm Bureau. And you, Bella, my daughter, Gina, my wife, and we had some great guests here. We had Senator Ed Charbonneau, and we had maybe 125 farmers. And we gave him a good speech, told him a good couple stories. But what was the first thing that nice man who opened it up for said? He just said, "Boy, let's thank God for that beautiful rain we got yesterday, and the crops were looking better right down there in Couts, Indiana." So we get a little backyarditis here. But as you've traveled enough to see that there's definitely a problem. It'll be interesting to see your perspective when you go home, and it's interesting. Hats off to you. When I was your age, if I wanted to trade corn, wheats, and beans, wheats, and then corn, wheat, and beans, I had to actually drive from Griffith, Indiana, to Chicago. When I was your age, I lived in Chicago, but I would drive to Chicago and go in the pit. So when I was your age, I already had a full seat on the Board of Trade. And if you want to trade corn, wheat, and beans, you either had to call a broker, pretty much on a landline, and place an order, and then that order went into the pits. You never got to experience the pits. You hear me talk about it a lot, but you literally have a trading account where you can click and you can trade corn, wheat, beans, S&P, NASDAQ. I mean, gold, silver. You get to see Bitcoin. CME Group has Bitcoin. Everything that I fought so hard to have access to when it comes to a market standpoint, you literally have on your laptop in Mayville, North Dakota. Isn't that pretty cool?
It's awesome, and it's something that, quite honestly, I would find it hard to live without. I mean, I've watched videos of people in the pits, and it's just, it just seems like it's so much extra than what needed to be done with the technology and software that we have now. But yeah, it's crazy that someone like me can just type in a username and password and throw a little money in an account, and then I've got all that just right on my screen.
If only it came with instructions on how to make a fortune, right? Well, we've seen some bad things happen just from when I was speaking at your college. The reason I couldn't show up too much more was obviously the Ukraine war, and we saw Bitcoin have a boom and bust. That Sam Bankman-Fried seems to be a little bit of a fraudster, and in the end, we've watched land prices rally, and agriculture is a booming, great thing. What about on the media side? Over the last few years as summer intern, I've noticed some technology changes just from when you started helping me a few years ago to this year. I mean, this everyone's talking about AI, and a few hours ago, I go, "Hey Marcus, check this out. Watch this. If I record something like this, it'll do this and it'll do that." And I didn't even know that feature was on the software, and I don't think it existed a month ago. I mean, I think all these things are new, and it's just wild.
No, it was crazy. I mean, going back to last year in the basement of the bank, I'd have to go over to every single camera and zoom in or out or move it left, right, up, down in order for it to be in the perfect shot. And then even a little bit with when you go on TV, I'd need to adjust that camera, adjust all the lighting around it and stuff like that. And then this year, like you said, not even a month ago, this year I come down here and you've got all this software and all these cameras, which just might be the same thing, but I mean, they look like they're 10 years into the future, even the ones that you have in your
Those are the
basement today.
Yeah, the point tilt zoom cameras. Yeah, so those could be I can adjust them by a clicker. They're just a better quality camera. And you know what's neat about all this, Marcus? It's so accessible. I mean, anyone can go on a B&H. B&H is a big store in New York, a camera store in New York. Anyone who understands camera or photos knows about B&H, but anyone can just open a B&H account and click on a button. Want to hear something funny? Is sometimes I need something at the studio in Mayville, and I'm like, oh my God, it's going to take so long to get. I can literally click on Amazon or B&H, and I don't know how it happens. If it's B&H, it's there in 2 days in Mayville, North Dakota. If it's Amazon, it's sometimes there the next day. I don't know where they get these parts, what warehouse they're sitting, but they just magically show up, and it's really cool. Yeah, there is a lot of things changing when it comes to all that. We You've gotten to see quite a bit of us. I've started doing a lot more broadcasts for clients, and you've been part of that. You've also got to see us do a lot more Scott the Cow Guy TV, right? That's fun.
Yep.
Now your screen shut off behind you, but that's okay. We're getting close to the end. See, everyone who's watching this is going to realize that sometimes in show business, things just don't go perfect. Marcus, before we end, because I'm hungry, and you and I cooked up 6 slabs of ribs today, and we're going to go over to
Yeah,
Mr.
those are starting to
Scott's.
smell pretty
Yeah,
tasty.
yeah. I gotta embarrass you a little bit. My girls, Bella and Gabby, they corrupted you. I want you to tell all the viewers and listeners what they made you go watch twice.
Yeah, so this is the second night I'm here, and I'm very grateful for them because not everyone in their position would be like, oh, there's a random guy staying 10 feet away from me in my house. Let's hang out with them. Let's do this
It
with them.
didn't
Let's
help
do
that I
that with
told
them.
them to lock their doors that you sleepwalked,
Exactly,
but
exactly, which is awesome. But no, so the very first or the second night that I stayed here, I went over to one of Bella's friend's house and I watched The Real Housewives with them.
yeah, that was a big deal. Then they corrupted you even more. Although you might not have made it for uh, the when they said is Marcus coming over for the
Nope,
Kardashians.
I did not make it to that one.
I
Me and
saved
you were
you
having
from
fun
that
on
one.
that one. Me and you
Yeah,
were
we
having
went up
fun
to
for that one.
Stacks probably had an adult beverage, and you are 22. I don't want everyone to think I was serving you drinks all weekend, like like you weren't of age.
Buying
But
them and throwing them under the table.
yeah, yeah, no, we had a good time, and yeah, the kids were you mended well with them, and they're not kids. You are all young adults. Well, I will tell you this: your mom and dad and your family raised you right. You live in a wonderful community. I think it's awesome that you chose Mayville State and you're taking the classes you are. This year you'll be finishing up. COVID gave you the opportunity to be, I think you call it a 5-year senior or
Super
stay
senior.
super senior. They call those people doctors.
Exact.
And but you're going to get to play sports at Mayville, and boy, there's some interesting things happening in the town of Mayville. I know they just recently, through our some hard work in politics in North Dakota, they just received some money to fix up the building. Is it called Old Main?
Yep, Old Main, which I think is the original building from
Yeah,
the late
needs a little fixing up.
1890s
Yeah,
when Mayville State first became a school, but it was in the 50 million, $55 million range
yeah,
that we got for renovation. So that's very good news, and it shows that our state believes that Mayville State is going to continue to have a good, healthy population of students and people that want to go there to learn. And it's just awesome that they said yes to the money and that we're going to make our school better.
that's awesome. Well, I'm looking real forward to watch what happens this year. There's some things I noticed on our list we didn't talk about, and that's how these go. And we'll have to leave it for the next time the next time you're on. And you're going to do some great things. I'm ultra confident in that, and I hope I exposed you to some interesting things. I apologize for what my kids exposed you to. You may never be the same, but you were raised right in a world that's just going crazy at the speed of light. So you're going to have a great year at Mayville State. You're going to graduate. You're going to have a great new coach on the baseball team. And of course, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, they can get a hold of you on social media, right? You're all
Hmm.
over social media.
Yep.
If someone wants to go to Mayville State or check out sports or education or anything else. And with that, we got to end this episode because we got 6 slabs of ribs, a pool party on a beautiful Saturday afternoon here in Valparaiso, Indiana. We're going to fly you home, and we're going to enjoy the rest of the summer. I'll be up to see you in a week here. And with that, I want to thank you. And of course, I end every episode with saying, thanks for watching the Ag Bull Podcast. I'm Tommy Grisafi, and I'm bullish agriculture.